right, hey, thanks for joining me. We're going to spend some time writing an equation for the line. And I'm going to be given some different information. So when I'm writing an equation, I'm going to need the slope, and I'm going to need to find the y-intercept. Okay, two very important pieces of information. All right, let's go ahead and look at number one. And I'm going to talk through these different steps here. So for number one, I'm given 2 points. And so the first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. And I do this by stacking my 2 points. Okay, so I have 5, 7, and I have 6, 8. I'm going to put an XY above it just to keep track of it. Now I'm going to do is I need to find the change. What does it take to change from the one to the other? So to go from 7 to 8, it is plus 1. To go from 5 to 6, it's plus 1. Now my slope is y over x. So here's my y's right here, and it's plus 1, so I'm going to have a 1. And then here are my x's, which is plus 1, so I'm going to put my 1 at the bottom. And 1 over 1 equals 1. All right, so what I have found now is my slope. My slope is just how it's changing from one point to the other. So here's my slope. Now, to find the y-intercept, I'm going to come back to my equation, y equals mx plus b, and I need to plug in some information. I'm going to come back to my points here, 5, 7, and 6, 8, and I'm going to plug them in because this is an x and this is a y. When we look at coordinates of something. And then that allows me to plug it in. So y is right there. So it is my 8. Oh, hello, eraser. So I'm going to plug in 8, which I'm getting from right here, equals m, which is my slope, which is 1, which I'm getting from here, times x, which is 6, plus the b, and that's what I'm trying to find is the b. So I'm going to do 8 equals 1 times 6, which is 6, plus b. And my y-intercept is 6 plus something equals 8. Now I have 6, so I'm going to undo 6 by subtracting it. And that allows b to be all by itself. That's what I'm looking for. 8 minus 6 is 2. So knowing all that, I have found my slope, and I have found my y-intercept, and this allows me to write my equation. I know there's math everywhere, but we need all these pieces to come up with the equation. Y equals, my slope is 1, x, and my y-intercept is 2. So that's what I would do to find the slope of, and the y-intercept, ultimately the equation of a point at 5, 7, and 6, 8. Let's go ahead and look at another one. Let's look at number 4. This one I'm given a point and the slope. So I already found the slope, so I do not need to do that ratio thing and find the difference of them, but I do need to find the y-intercept. And in this case, I'm going to go to y equals mx plus b, and I'm just going to plug pieces in. There's my x and there's the y, so the y is going to be there, the slope is right there, my x is right there, and then I'm trying to find b. So let me plug all those pieces in. So y is 3, my slope is 4 times my x is negative 2, and it's plus b, and that's what I'm trying to find. Let me simplify this. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 plus b. I'm looking at the side with the variable, which is b, and so I'm going to undo a negative 8. And how you undo it is the opposite of what you see. So I'm undoing a negative 8 or undoing a subtracting 8. Those end up going away, and I'm left with b equals 3 plus 8. It's 11. So now I do have the pieces I need. I need my slope, and I need my y-intercept, so I can now write my equation. Y equals my slope, which is 4x plus 11, and that is my equation when I'm given the point negative 2, 3 with a slope of 4. Okay, let's try another one. Here, let's look at number 7 here. I can notice this right here, and some of you noticed that earlier, is that when I have a point at 0, 5, if I graph this, and I have a point at 0, 5, that is actually going to be my y-intercept. So I already know my y-intercept. B equals 5. So I need to find my slope. And I'm going to do that finding the difference in things. So I have a point at 0, 5, and negative 3, 2. And I got to see how much is it changing between them. So it goes from 5 to 2. It's going down, and it goes down 3. It's at 0, and it's going down negative 3. So it's going down 3 steps. And My ratio is y over x, so my y, which is over here, is -3, and my x is over here, which is -3. And -3 divided by -3 is 1. And now I have all my pieces. I have my slope, and I have my y-intercept. So I can write my equation. Y equals m, which is my slope of 1, plus the y-intercept, which is 5. And there is my equation. I'm going to go ahead and try it now on like number 8. Number 8, I'm given 2 points. I do not see the y-intercept, so the first thing I have to do is find my slope. So I do 8 over 11, or 8, 11, and then 6, 16. And I want to find out how much does it change between them. So to go from 11 to 16 is 5, plus 5. To go from 8 to 6 is going down 2. Okay, and because I'm doing y over x, I'm going to look at my y, and it's 5. I'm going to look at my x, which is -2. So my slope is 5 over -2. Now that I have that, I need to find my y-intercept. I'm going to do y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in all the stuff I know. I've got an 11. I've got my slope. I've got an x. I'm going to find b. All right, so let's do that. My y is 11 equals my slope, which is kind of funky. I'm -5/2, and that's okay though, times x, which is 8, and that is plus b. All right, and that's working out okay. I can do this a couple different ways. I can do 8 times 5 divided by 2, or I do it the other way, 8 divided by 2 times 5. I tend to like that. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20, so it's -20 plus b. And now I'm going to undo that -20. And undoing something that's minus or negative is to add. And so I'm left with b over here, and I end up with 32. And so, a couple pieces I have here. I have my slope, and I have my y-intercept, which means y equals my slope of -5/2 x plus 32. So we should get 5/2. Look at my, you know what? I looked at my answer key. You know, I made an answer key earlier, and I have my y-intercept being at 31. So maybe you got that, and my math is a little off or something like that. So you can check that and do that later. All right, so these are a couple things you want to be checking on. I do want to come back and look at tables for a moment. So let's take a look at a table. Let's see, what should we do with that table? Let's look at number 9, okay? Now, again, it's change in x over, change in y over change in x. And I'm seeing from 3 to 7, it changes 4, and from 7 to 11, it changes 4, and 11 to 15 changes 4. Okay, that's good news. 1, 1, 1. Okay, I'm seeing that this is indeed linear, so that's good. And if it is linear, I can write an equation for it. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it's doing. Okay, as my x is going up, my y is also going up, so it's nice and positive. And I can see that it's changing in x over changing y, so y over x. It looks like it's going to be 4/1, which is 4. Okay, and now that I have my slope, I can go ahead and find my y-intercept. Again, I can do a couple different things. I can plug in like this point into y equals mx plus b, and I could try it. So y is 3 equals my slope of 4 times x, which is 2, plus b. 3 equals 8 plus b. How do I undo an 8? I subtract 8, and then 8, 7, 6, 5, so I end up with a -5 equals b, and there we go. I have my slope, I have my y-intercept, so it's y equals 4x minus 5 is my equation of this line. Another thing a person could do is really follow the pattern. I mean, the pattern goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and there's going to be a 1, and then 0, because I'm ultimately trying to find when it goes to 0. And then it goes by 4s. So here's a 4, which is going to be at -1, and then another 4, which is going to be at -5. And so there's also my y-intercept showing up. All right, and when I'm looking at a graph, graphs are a little bit nice. Sometimes, I mean, I'm looking at my y-intercept is really bizarre in a couple of these things. So for like number 4, I might have to go back into the y equals mx plus b. I might have to do that one because I can see my slope is right here. It rises 2 and it runs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it runs 5. So my slope m equals rise of 2 and run of 5. And I do need to check the interval, make sure that's same. So I got my slope, and I'm going to go ahead and then use a point. So that point right there is at 1, 1. So I'm going to use my point and a slope and solve this. So y equals mx plus b, so it's 1 equals 2/5 times 1 plus b. Simplify that, 1 equals 2/5 plus b. To undo 2/5, I'm going to subtract 2/5, and I end up with 3/5. So if I have a whole one and I take away 2/5 from it, I'm going to be left with 3/5 equals b, and I have all the pieces I need. There they are. Slope, my y-intercept. My main thing for you guys is when you're working on this stuff, really be patient with yourself. Like, don't go crazy fast. I mean, you want to be efficient and stuff, but you want to go slow so you can catch all the pieces that's happening there. And so there's my equation to this line. And look at the y-intercept. The y-intercept is at 3/5, so not even a whole one. And that would make sense. That's showing up right here. Yep. All right, you keep practicing that stuff, and make sure you eat a lot of broccoli, and maybe have a mint afterwards.